All right, Chair Schumacher, would you like to move your bill before the committee?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to move that House File 3526 be laid over for possible inclusion.
Chair Schumacher to your bill.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And before we begin, I would like to move the A2 amendment, some technical changes and requests from the Department of Health on getting this bill into a fashion that is workable and pleasing.
Wonderful. All right, let's discussion to the A2 amendment. Members. Seeing no discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. The amendment is adopted. All
Thank you,
right.
members. Many of us share the goal of increased access to home care services that allow older Minnesotans and those with disabilities or complex health needs to remain living in their homes and with their families. Access to home health services is most often the preferred choice of our constituents compared to care in a hospital or other long-term care settings. Access to home health services is a key step in easing the stress in our currently overstressed hospitals and other congregate care facilities. And access to home care saves our state a significant amount of funding as compared to providing this care in other settings. The bill before you today, brought to me by the Minnesota Home Care Association, offers two small steps the state can take to strengthen home care services in Minnesota. This bill does two things: updates the structure for use of home care fine dollars to align more closely with changes passed into law last session for assisted living fine dollars, and to allow for consistency and clarity. And number two, it ensures timely filling of vacancies in the Minnesota Department of Health's Home Care and Assisted Living Advisory Council. I'd like to thank Co-Chair Knorr for joining me to co-author this bill, and would like to thank MDH for working with the bill proponents on the language for the bill, getting us to this place today where all parties, we believe, are comfortable with the current language and with the inclusion of the amendment. I will now turn over to my testifier, Kathy Messerly, for testimony in support of the bill.
Wonderful. Welcome to the committee. Please state your name for the record and give us your testimony.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Chair Schumacher. My name is Kathy Messerly, and I'm the Executive Director of the Minnesota Home Care Association, whose members provide hands-on care to more than 30,000 older Minnesotans and individuals with disabilities in their own homes. As Chair Schumacher stated, this bill contains two small process improvement steps the state can take to continue to strengthen the state's home care service system. Sections 1 and 3 of the bill update the structure for use of home care fine dollars to align with language that was passed by the legislature last session. That language attached very clear procedural and timeline requirements to the process MDH uses for awarding competitive grant dollars to assisted living providers. This proposal in the bill aims to mirror that language and applies these additional process improvement measures to the process for awarding grants to home care providers. The intent with this proposal is to have greater clarity for all stakeholders on the process used for awarding the grants and to allow MDH to have a more aligned and consistent process for awarding the funds. Section 2 of the bill implements a timeline within which vacancies must be filled by the Minnesota Department of Health's Home Care and Assisted Living Advisory Council. This advisory council has been in existence for some time and is charged with providing advice regarding the MDH's regulation of home care and assisted living providers. State statute outlines the 14 roles that must be represented in the membership of the council. It is critical that each of these 14 voices be able to contribute to the work of the council. Last year, an extensive delay in the selection of qualified applicants for appointment to the vacant positions led to a gap in voices at the table. The language in this bill lays out a clear and common sense timeline for filling the vacancies. We would like to thank MDH for working with us on the details of these proposals. In closing, I want to thank the committee for taking time to hear this bill today. As our state works to bring better access to home care services to Minnesotans across the state, we must look at all steps that will help us move in that direction. We believe these small but meaningful process improvements will benefit Minnesotans. I would also like to note that the bill has been endorsed by the Minnesota Leadership Council on Aging. Thank you for your time, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
All right. Is there any other questions or comments from the audience or testimonies? All right, seeing none, member discussion. All right, no discussion. Chair Noor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Chair, I just wanted to inquire about the balance in this program, but also the process whereby we can be able to continue funding that program based on the regulations put forward in state grant program rather than specifying the 10% here. I don't know if anybody from the agency is here to explain where we are with the funding and whether we need to define the 10% or use the Chapter 16 definition.
Chair Schumacher.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Chair Noor. I do believe there is someone who is very happy to come and help you with your question.
All right, welcome to the committee. Please state your name for the record and give us your testimony.
All right, Madam Chair, Representatives, my name is Daphne Pons. I'm with the Minnesota Department of Health, and I'm a manager with the Assisted Living and Home Care Programs.
Chair Noor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ms. Pons, I just wanted to know the current account, the special revenue account. What is the current balance for the home care program? Or is it all combined into one?
Madam Chair, Representative Noor, there is a combined special revenue account, but for the home care dollars, there's approximately $1.5 million currently.
Chair Noor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So for that program, and is it only specifically for the home care program, or does it transcend beyond that? Does it go to the assisted living or other programs?
Madam Chair, Representative Noor, the home care, so essentially right now there's a special revenue account where both the assisted living and home care dollars go into. This proposal mirrors on January 1st, 2026, this legislature passed a law last year for the assisted living grants. And so there is a grant program for assisted living currently that this mirrors. And so the total amount right now for home care and assisted living is a little over $5 million. But there is a delineation between the 144A for the home care licensees for those fines, and then delineation for the assisted living 144G fines.
Chair Noor.
Thank you so much for that clarity because of the difference between the two sections. And also the other question that I have is on line 4.3, it specifies the 10%. Is the plan within the agency to comply with the new regulations under 16B.981, I believe?
Madam Chair, Representative Noor, yes, the department did give technical assistance on this language, and we would be able to comply with the way that the wording is, yes.
Chair Noor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Chair, I also wanted to know when a provider is with temporary license, why are they excluded from the grant if they are able to apply for the grant? That is line 4.2.
Chair, Representative Noor, I believe they're excluded.
That was the question. If there's a need for someone with temporary license and they need to be in compliance, and why will they be excluded from a grant that will help them to be in compliance?
So, Madam Chair, Representative Noor, I guess I would have to look at the language a little closer. I know under the assisted living grant program that provisional licensees are excluded. And in this particular language, I'm not seeing that line.
I think it was,
Madam Chair?
Madam,
Chair Noor.
That is line 4. It's 4.1 and 4.2.
It was intended to mirror the assisted living, so you could just say that.
Yep, I got it. Okay, I see. All right, just my glasses. Okay, Madam Chair, Representative Noor, yes, I see that. There was an intent for this to mirror the 144G language, And so I see here under that line that a provider with a temporary license in the chapter is not eligible to apply. And so I think my understanding, at least with the intent, was that it was to have only those with full valid licensure to be able to receive the grant, and not those that may be denied upon survey. It's potential that they could be denied after their initial survey of that licensure, and then would have those dollars that they really haven't paid into at that point with the fine monies.
Chair Nord.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So for how long does a provider hold a temporary license?
Madam Chair, Representative Noor, it is dependent, they are, essentially the license is good for 1 year, for 12 months. And so then it's just dependent on the department to get out to do the actual survey at that point, once they've been granted the temporary basic or temporary comprehensive license, which the goal is to do that within 90 days, but you know, it could take a little bit longer, just depending on the resources at the time for the survey process.
Chair Nord.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So that, to me, that no temporary license provider will be paying into fines because they may be excluded completely. Is that correct?
Right.
Oh, yes.
Madam Chair, Representative Noor, the department has the discretion under 140A. It says may fine, and so we do make a decision on that on a case-by-case basis. I would say that oftentimes, though, if there is a denial, oftentimes we would not do associated fines just because it is a denial and we don't want to be overly punitive, but it would be looked at on a case-by-case basis, and we have discretion whether or not to fine.
Chair Nord.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Chair, I think we need to look through find ways of understanding if there's a temporary license or provisional license. If they're paying into the fines, then there should be a way to address if they're technical assistance in nature to make sure that they're in compliance, because that's our goal, to ensure that every provider who is enrolled, who's able to get any technical assistance to be able to be in compliance, we can help them. Not all the providers, but those who are doing their job in good faith, they should be able to get some help from the agencies. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Any other discussion? All right. Do you have any closing remarks, Chair Schumacher?
Just to say, Madam Chair, thank you for the time today, and I'd like to renew my motion that House File 3526 as amended be laid over for possible inclusion in a future bill.
All right, seeing no further discussion, House File 3526 is laid over as amended.